Most people think stress disappears when they fall asleep. But according to sleep experts, your body may still be reacting to it all night long. In fact, the way you position your body in bed may reveal how your nervous system is coping with stress while you sleep. Dr. Carlos Nunes, Chief Medical Officer at ResMed, explains it this way. The posture you unconsciously adopt at night can reflect how your nervous system is coping. When stress activates the body's fight or flight response, the effects don't just show up during the day. Your heart rate rises, muscles stay tense, and the brain can remain more alert than usual. All of this can subtly influence how the body behaves during sleep. Some people curl up tightly, others clench their fists or hug a pillow, and some spend the entire night tossing and turning. So the question is, what might your sleeping position actually reveal about your stress levels? In this video, we're breaking down what sleep research and experts say about common sleep positions and the nighttime behaviors that may be the clearest signs your body is struggling to fully relax. Here's the surprising part. Your sleep position alone usually doesn't tell the whole story about stress. Stress affects sleep in many ways, from muscle tension and breathing patterns to how often you wake during the night. According to surveys from the American Psychological Association, about 74% of Americans say stress has disrupted their sleep. So today, we're looking at the sleep positions experts sometimes associate with tension in the body, and the one nighttime pattern researchers say may be the strongest signal that stress is affecting sleep. Because sometimes the biggest clue isn't how you fall asleep. It's what your body keeps doing while you're asleep. To understand why sleep positions can shift during stressful periods, we first need to understand what stress does inside the body. When you experience stress, your brain activates the sympathetic nervous system, often called the fight or flight response. This system prepares the body to respond to potential danger. Heart rate increases, breathing becomes faster, blood pressure rises, and muscles throughout the body become more tense. These reactions are helpful in short bursts. But when stress continues into the evening, the body can struggle to switch fully into its rest and recovery mode, controlled by the parasympathetic nervous system. Stress can also affect hormones involved in sleep. Elevated cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, can make it harder for the brain to transition into deeper stages of sleep. Research reviewing dozens of studies has found that psychological stress is associated with lower sleep efficiency, more nighttime awakenings, and reduced deep sleep. In other words, when the body stays partially activated, sleep becomes lighter, more fragmented, and more restless. And when the brain senses discomfort, the body may unconsciously adjust. Muscles tighten, breathing patterns change, and the body shifts position in search of comfort. So if stress affects how the body relaxes during sleep, could certain sleep positions reflect that tension? Let's start with one of the most common. One of the most common sleep positions is the fetal position. This is when someone sleeps on their side with their knees drawn toward the chest and arms tucked close to the body. Large sleep tracking studies show that side sleeping accounts for more than half of the time adults spend asleep. But during periods of stress, some people may curl into this position more tightly than usual. Sleep experts say this posture can sometimes act as a form of self-soothing. Curling inward may create a sense of containment or comfort, which some sleep experts believe can feel calming to the nervous system. Dr. Carlos Nunes explains that during stressful periods, people may unconsciously adopt positions that provide a sense of protection or comfort. That said, side sleeping itself is extremely common and often recommended because it can reduce snoring and improve breathing for some people. What experts tend to look at more closely is how tightly the body curls. A relaxed side sleeper may keep their body fairly loose. But when someone pulls their knees tightly toward their chest or hugs a pillow closely, it may suggest the body is seeking additional comfort while settling into sleep. Still, this position alone isn't the clearest signal that stress is affecting sleep, because often the stronger clue appears later in the night when the body starts moving. Another position sleep specialists sometimes discuss is the face down or free fall position. This is when someone sleeps on their stomach, usually with their head turned to one side and their arms wrapped around a pillow. Compared with side or back sleeping, stomach sleeping is actually much less common. Studies suggest only about 7% of sleep time is spent in this position. For some people, stomach sleeping can create a sense of pressure or grounding, especially when hugging a pillow or pressing the chest against the mattress. Similar to side sleeping, this gentle pressure might feel soothing to some people. though research on emotional meaning is limited. However, this position can also place strain on the neck and spine, since the head must remain rotated to breathe. Like other sleep positions, stomach sleeping alone doesn't mean someone is stressed. For many people, it simply becomes a long-standing habit. Instead, experts often look at how the body behaves in that position. Is the body relaxed and still? Or are the muscles tense, the pillow gripped tightly, and the sleeper waking frequently? Because when stress carries into sleep, it often appears through physical tension. And one of the clearest signs of that tension can show up in something simple: the hands. Sometimes the clearest signal that stress is affecting sleep isn't a full body position. It's muscle tension. Some people sleep with their fists tightly clenched, their hands gripping the sheets, or their jaw pressed firmly together. While these small details might seem minor, they can reflect what the nervous system is doing during sleep. When the body is under stress, the sympathetic nervous system can remain partially active, keeping muscles slightly tense even while resting. That tension can show up as jaw clenching, teeth grinding, known as bruxism, or tight hands during the night. People who wake up with sore jaw muscles, headaches, or tension in their hands may have been clenching muscles unconsciously while asleep. And this tension often appears alongside another clue: lighter, more restless sleep. Because when the brain stays on higher alert, it becomes more sensitive to discomfort and disturbance. Which leads to another position experts sometimes notice when tension carries into sleep. Another position sleep experts sometimes notice is what's often called the mummy position. This is when someone lies on their back with their arms crossed over the chest or tucked tightly against the body. At first glance, it may look calm and still, but some sleep specialists suggest this position can reflect a more guarded posture, where the body remains contained rather than spread out comfortably. Some sleep specialists anecdotally describe this as a more contained or guarded posture, though research hasn't directly linked it to stress. When stress keeps the nervous system activated, muscles can stay slightly engaged during sleep. Instead of relaxing fully across the mattress, the body may hold a more rigid posture. Of course, many people simply find this position comfortable. But if the arms stay tightly crossed alongside other signs of tension, like jaw clenching or restless sleep, it may suggest the body hasn't fully shifted into its most relaxed state. And interestingly, when researchers study how stress affects sleep, they often focus less on a single posture and more on how often the body moves during the night. Many sleep researchers say the strongest sign that stress is affecting sleep isn't one position at all, it's movement. When the body is under stress, the brain often remains in a more alert state during sleep. Instead of settling into deep, stable sleep cycles, the brain may stay closer to lighter stages of sleep, which are easier to disrupt. Small sounds, temperature changes, or pressure from a pillow can cause the brain to briefly wake and adjust. This is why people experiencing stress often report tossing and turning throughout the night. Research shows psychological stress is associated with reduced sleep efficiency, more awakenings, and less deep sleep. Even under normal conditions, people change positions about once or twice per hour. But when sleep becomes fragmented, those movements become more frequent and more noticeable. Instead of staying in one relaxed posture, the body may rotate from back to side, to stomach, and back again, not consciously, but because the brain is trying to recreate the conditions needed for deeper sleep. So while individual sleep positions can offer clues, constant repositioning is often the clearest sign that the body is struggling to fully relax. So what does your sleep position really say about your stress levels? The research suggests something important. A single sleep position rarely tells the whole story. Most people naturally rotate between positions throughout the night, shifting posture about once or twice every hour. What experts pay closer attention to instead is how the body behaves during sleep. Is the body relaxed and still? Or does sleep feel restless and frequently interrupted? Because when stress carries into the night, it often shows up through patterns: muscles staying tense, frequent awakenings, constant repositioning in search of comfort. In other words, the most meaningful signal isn't usually the position you fall asleep in. It's whether your nervous system is able to fully power down and recover while you sleep. Because when the body truly relaxes, meaning your nervous system shifts into full rest mode, it naturally finds the position that feels best. If you found this helpful, make sure you're subscribed to The Wellness Method. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.